Welcome to my Lasso podcast. Let's get into it. All right, today's Thursday's episode. Oh man, we got another Court of Thorns and Roses episode for you guys. We have chapters 41 and 42. We are flying through this book, baby. We're about 90% done with the book, and man, it's gonna be tough to give how would you say, in this book, I guess, because I've been having a love-hate relationship with this book. I'm not gonna lie to you. In the beginning, I was like, God damn, this book's boring as shit. Then she gets captured by Lucian and Tamlin, and it's a slow burn, while she's at the house and stuff like that. Some cool shit happens. They do be fighting the little serpents and stuff like that, and then we get into the kind of juicier stuff where my boy Tamlin kind of turns it up, and he's just like, yeah, girl, what's Gucci with it, and you're like, oh shit. And then our girl, she get a bit of that. She get a bit of that little elf penis, and she like, oh shit, this is what I'm talking about. Because for some reason Tamlin's just like, yo, I can't go through with the ritual of having a kid with one of the hottest girls in the I guess village or the land or whatever. And he's just like, nah, I want my girl Feyre. I want to bust nuts in that. And he's just like, I got to do it. I got to see it through. Amaranthia, though, she came out of nowhere and getting crazy on a motherfucker. I'm like, yo. And she honestly is still getting crazy. She out here branded our girl. She threw her in a dungeon. She gave her this weird, I guess puzzle to solve or riddle. Which I'm not understanding that part just yet. I don't understand why the riddle is still going on, because she's just like, every time she thinks about the riddle, it kind of makes her physically sick to the stomach and stuff like that. And I'm just like, what the fuck? But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. It's been such a love-hate, because it's like, it'll get good, and then it's like, it's boring again. And then it'll get good, and it's like, it's boring again. So I don't know. I love the world building. I do love how in depth they go in with, just building the world around our characters. I do enjoy that a lot. But if I'm being honest with you, man, that's what I think Haunting Adeline did right, is that they focused more on the characters than they did the world. It's like, the world's great and all, but, I want to focus on the characters. And I think when you focus on the characters a little more, it kind of makes the book just a little more juicy, and it's a little more enticing. We are going to be doing Haunting Adeline book 2 after this book. So we do have, I would think, maybe 4 more weeks. I believe 4, maybe 5 weeks left of this book, and then we'll be on to Haunting Adeline book 2. I know you guys have been dying and itching for Haunting Adeline book 2, so we will do that. But we have to finish this one. So without further ado, though, we do have our thread. Our thread is a very interesting one today. I've been kind of going on the theme of not really doing threads that involve dating and relationships and all that kind of stuff, trying to think outside the box, do a little bit of something different, get your mind racing. So this one is, what is the most embarrassing moment you've ever had in public? All right. So let's see what embarrassing moment you guys have had in public. I mean, it's got to be when I was 14 playing football with some friends at the park and absolutely shit myself. Just aborted the game mid-play and ran shit streaming down my leg. Kids shouting for me to come back. I just took off and had to wait a few blocks away to get picked up. Yo. Oh, that's got to suck. It was one of those silent dookies where, like, you don't even know that it's about to happen, because like your stomach's not gurgling. You don't really feel like you got a dookie. So then, you're just going on about your day, and it just fell out his butt. He was just like, oh no. Oh, that's gotta suck. Oh man, especially in front of all the kids, man. Oh, you gonna be doo-doo butt, and you gonna be, poopy boy, all that shit for the rest of high school. And you're only 14, so you're a freshman at that time. Like, damn, son, I bet you had a long 3 years. Oh my God, you had a long 3 years of high school. Shit. Anyone ever walk up to a stranger when you were a kid and grab their hand thinking it was one of your parents? Okay, so now that's scary. That's a bit terrifying. I've never done that. I don't even know anybody that's ever done that, but still, that is terrifying. Especially because, like, this is a girl, too. So it's like a little girl just coming out of nowhere and grabbing somebody's hand, and you're just like, you grab the wrong guy's hand, and he's just like, cha-ching! Oh, my God. Come on, little girl. I got some puppies and cookies in my van. Like, oh, shit. Like, uh-oh. I'm just saying. Was squatting down to pick up my wallet in Walmart, ripped the whole ass out of my jeans. Damn. Girl must have had a dumpy on it. No, I'm just kidding. But yo. Wow. That's absolutely crazy. That would suck. I've never had a situation where my pants have ripped in public. You know? I've had my pants ripped at work. I've had that happen before. They were shorts, but yeah, I've had that happened to me at work. You know, like I squatted down to pick something up, and then right when I was on the way up, it was just like, and I was like, oh, and I was like, all right, I gotta go home. You know, I was like, I gotta go home. Like, that sucked. It was right down the mid seam too. You know, I was like, fuck. I was standing with a bunch of young moms waiting to pick up my great-granddaughter from kindergarten last week. She came running out the door with a picture she drew and colored. Look at my horse. I even gave it a big penis. Wow. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why kids should not be on the internet that early, because I guarantee you this little girl was just looking up pictures of horses, and there just happened to be that one picture of a horse with a giant schlong, and she was just like, oh, look at that horse has a fifth leg, you know. And then I guarantee you some kid was just like, oh, your horse has a penis, da da da. And she's just like, oh, is that what it's called? Oh, for sure. And then, yep. Damn, man. I would be like, where did you learn that from? Oh, my, because you can't scold them. It's like, you know, like technically she's right, and she probably doesn't understand what she's saying, but still, it's like, God damn it. Oh, yeah. Okay. Forgot my boob was out while nursing my baby. Well, you know, they got a show that day. Yeah, I mean, they were walking by and they were like, hey, yo. All right. My day was made. No. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, girl, you out here playing with fire. Wore a new dress to work when I was in my early 20s. I'm not a confident person by any stretch, as I nipped out of the office to get my lunch from the nearby shop. I noticed people were looking at me, and it felt great until a stranger tapped me on the shoulder and quietly informed me that my dress was tucked into my underwear. Oh, it's been about a decade since I've always double checked after I use the toilet. Oh, that's gotta suck. Everybody saw Yo Chonies. Man, and that's really embarrassing because you went to the store and nobody fucking told her. Oh, hey, old man, he was just like, sweetheart, your business is all out. Your business is all out. Like, damn. And, you know, she's a 20-something little young thing. You know, and like, damn, I bet everybody just like, oh, shit. Oh, damn. What's up, you know? All right, let's see. Years ago, I thought I was having a conversation with someone while waiting in line for food. Turns out this new thing called Bluetooth has just come out, and the dude was talking to his friend the whole time. Oh, he was on the phone. Oh. Personally, I hate that shit. I personally hate when people like, not necessarily talk on Bluetooth, but like, I don't know. Because one I definitely hate is when they talk on speakerphone. Fucking can't stand that shit. That pisses me off. Like when people walk around and talk on speakerphone and all that, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? Get some headphones, do something else. But it sucks when like the earbuds now are so small and you can't really see them in somebody's ear if you're not really looking. And so, you try to get their attention and whatnot. That is embarrassing. That shit really sucks sometimes, especially if you're trying to get somebody's attention or you're trying to like, especially if like you work somewhere and you're trying to get their attention. That's the only time I really don't like it. But having a full-on conversation, that's wild. Oh, I would feel so embarrassed. I'd be like, fuck my food, I'm leaving. I was driving a truck, and 1 mile from my exit, the truck died. This was before cell phones, so I could see the delivery location from where I was. So I put my orange reflectors on and walked across the field so I can call my boss to let him know. The location was Famous Cosmic Company, and the office portion was completely plate glass. And since I made countless deliveries before, all the ladies knew me, and I knew anyone facing my general direction would easily spot a person approaching from an empty field. The front of the office was 80% female, and I always enjoyed visiting them. I'm sure you did. Right before the property started separating the field from the parking lot, I had to either jump over a little man-made canal, which was about 6 feet across, or walk the length towards the street and go around. So I decided to jump. I made the jump and I landed on some algae and fell right on my ass in the mud. Tried to play it cool, but I was wearing khaki work pants and it looked like I shit myself. When I go to the office, the laughs and giggles confirm they saw the whole thing. Dang, all those girls were like, hee, nigga can't jump 6 feet. Oh, man. Oh, that's gotta suck, bro. I mean, what was the man supposed to do, though, at that point? It's like, at some point, you just got to take the L. You got to take the L, and it is what it is. You take the L, you just let it go. You move on at that point, because, like I said, what else you gonna do? What else you gonna do? So, hey, facts, brother, on that. Had an attack of food poisoning while in a crowded car for driver's ed. Thankfully, I made it to the bathroom, a small bathroom close to the front office where everyone's gathered, getting a front row seat of my agony. It was loud and violent. It's been 15 years and I'm still mortified. Yo, bruh, when he said that he had a sudden attack of food poisoning, I thought they were driving in the car and bro was just... Sorry if you're eating right now, just vomiting all over the place and just throwing up all over the instructor and shit. That's what I thought he meant was about to happen. That would have been 20, 30 times more embarrassing to throw up all over the car and the instructor over just, people hearing you yak. But that's what I thought when I first read it. I was like, wait a minute. That would be crazy if that actually did happen. I'm sure to some degree that probably has happened. Oh, man. 2 days ago, I dropped my daughter off at a school and immediately ran over 2 traffic cones in the parking lot. Had to pull over in front of the teacher/other parents to remove the cones from the van's undercarriage. Oh, bruh. Yeah, see, that would be embarrassing. That would be getting out and pulling those cones from under your shit. That would be embarrassing as fuck. Like, that's like equivalent to taking the walk of shame at that point. Everybody's looking at you and you already know. And I guarantee there was people behind him honking and shit. Like, hey, yo, man, what the fuck are you doing? Because they don't know. They don't know that he has to pull cones from under his car. And they're just honking and shit. And I'm sure he's like, oh, fuck, And then they're like, Jessica, that's your dad? And man, your dad's trash at driving, you know? Like, oh, man. Yeah. This happened about 2 years ago. I was really excited after accepting an offer for a new job with a huge pay increase. So I decided to treat myself and went to the store to pick up all the ingredients to make my own homemade summer rolls. It wasn't a lot of stuff, so I used one of those smaller 2-tiered grocery carts. I left the store and went to cross the parking lot. It was really busy, so when a car stopped to let me pass, I went jogging across the road. Before I knew what was happening, the cart was tumbling onto the road and I was tumbling over the cart. The damn wheel of the cart had caught a dip in the sidewalk and sent me flying along with the groceries in full view of the car that stopped and a ton of people in the parking lot and the store. I had gone completely over the cart, scraped up my palm, and had 2 cuts on my leg. I was mortified, and even more so when I saw I had to grab groceries from underneath the car that had stopped. Eventually, a woman and her daughter came to help me, and after I got everything back, she looked at me and said if I was okay. I shakingly laughed and said I was, and the look on her face when she asked again, "No, really, dear, are you okay?" told me just how spectacular my tumble had been. Yo. That sucks. Oh, you're just trying to you just have all your groceries in the car and the car stops and you're just like, oh, thank you. And you go running and you get launched over the cart and all your groceries just fall out all over on the street. Oh, that's gotta be extremely embarrassing. Oh, I am having like secondhand embarrassment for you because I can just picture it. I can just picture being in that situation, you know, not that I've ever been in that situation, but I can picture that situation, and that's not fun. That does not sound like a fun situation to me. That sounds like a shitty ass situation. Oh, I mean, at least somebody came over to help you. That's great. Nobody ran over your groceries, because that would have been even worse if somebody ran your shit. Oh, imagine your milk just being out there and somebody runs it over. Oh, that would suck. Oh, that would suck. Ugh. All right. Out drinking at a bar and grill type place with my friends, and a girl was interested. Oh, I was interested in. We all got shots. Mine went down the wrong tube, and I started coughing fit that led to me vomiting on the table. Oh, bruh. Oh, that sucks. And the girl that you like is there too. Oh. Damn, that's tough. That's tough, bro. That's extremely tough. The guy that you like, or the girl that you like, was there, and she had to witness that. Oh, you're cooked. You're cooked at that point, man. And I don't even think that she would want to go out drinking with you again. You know, I mean, unless she has a good sense of humor and you guys go out and she's just like, yeah, I'm down to go drinking with you again as long as you don't throw up all over the table, you know? Oh, but even then, I don't even think she would want to date you at that point. I don't know. Ladies, you let me know. Like, oh, like if a dude that liked you and you kind of knew he liked you, you know, did that, like, would you continue to like him? Would you even date him? Yeah, like, man, would your interest be lost? I'd love to know that, because, whoo, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. All right, I'm going to do like 4 more. I trusted a fart in IKEA because I thought it'd be silent, and I was next to a bunch of scented candles anyway. It was not silent, and the scent of the candles did not mask it. Yo. My boy was just like, he was puckering his butt, and he was just like, I should be good. I should be good. And it was like, oh, and there everybody's just looking at him like, bruh, really? In front of the candles? You know? Oh, that's got to be tough. Oh, at that point, I would just walk. I would just start walking, because I'd be walking and looking around like, who did that? That wasn't me. Who was that? You know, like, that wasn't me. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what happened. What? It, oh, bro. Yeah, nah. Okay. When I was around 13 years old, I was already about 220 pounds. Damn, nigga, you were a big ass kid. So going in public was already embarrassing, but on a trip to a city center, I walked off the bus and felt something wet on my head. Figured it was just a raindrop, so I didn't bother and walked around for a couple of hours. Oh, don't tell me you got doo-dooed on by a bird. Oh, we'll see. Got home and looked in the mirror, and there it was, a massive white bird shit. Damn. Going from the top of my head all the way down my back. People must have laughed their asses off at the fat kid covered in bird shit. Oh. No. And nobody told you? Not a teacher? Not an adult, not somebody that worked at the city center, like nobody, the bus driver, like, bruh, nobody said anything. That's crazy. Oh, dude. Yeah, I would be traumatized. I'd probably wear hats for the rest of my life, if I'm being honest with you. You know, and I hate hats because hats make my head itchy. You know, but yeah, bro. Oh, no. No, I couldn't do it. Again, like I said, I would wear hats for the rest of my life. Nobody fucking said a thing. I understand the students because they're assholes. You know what I mean? They're middle schoolers. They're assholes. They're not going to say anything. I understand that. But not the teachers, not the city center workers, not the bus driver. Like, bro, nobody? That's crazy. All right, we got two more. When I was in the ER, someone had passed away down the hall. I don't know this, but while the doctor was talking, there was the sound of someone wailing in the background. The doctor said, "Sorry, we have a death," but my dumbass thought she said a deaf. I was wildly confused why the doctor would say that and simply reply with, "Oh, that's lovely." She gave me the most judgmental expression I've ever seen in my I've ever seen and immediately left the room. I asked my mom what the doctor said, thinking I must have misheard her, and my mom told me she said death, not deaf. The doctor refused to come back to the room. I had to ask the nurse to tell her I had misheard her, and eventually it was sorted out, but I felt so embarrassed and absolutely awful. Oh. Damn, saying, "Oh, that's lovely," to even like, "Oh, we have a death," like, even that part's kind of fucked up. Like, I would judge you still off of that. Like, even if the person was deaf over there and it wasn't a death, like, that's still kind of fucked up to say. And, you know, as the doctor, I would have still given you that look. Like, bitch, what the fuck? You know, like, if I'm being honest with you, I still would have given you the look. You know, so that's why it's like, I don't know why you said, "Oh, lovely." You know, like, I don't know. Because I would have just been like, "Oh, okay." Like, concerning, you know, not necessarily like, "Oh, that's lovely," kind of sarcastic. I don't know. Yeah. Either way, I think you kind of deserved that embarrassing moment. Let's be honest here on that one. I think you deserved it, regardless if it was death or deaf. You know, the misunderstanding at this point is kind of irrelevant. Like, you kind of deserve that one. Let's be hundo P on this one. You know, like... Oh my god. All right, this is going to be our last one for today's thread. Had to pee really bad. Thought I could hold it. Peed my pants in front of the entire class while I was giving a presentation. Yo. I trusted one friend with the truth, and she told the entire fourth grade about it in the span of recess. Katie, if you see this, I'm still bitter about that, bitch. Damn. Hey, that's why you don't trust it. You don't trust it. For me, I'm the same way. You know, and I'm the type of person that doesn't really like to use public bathrooms and stuff like that. You know, I got like phobia of that shit. I hate it. I mean, I'll go pee, you know, in a public bathroom, but shitting, that's hard. It's got to be touching cotton for me to use a public bathroom. So and that kind of stems like far from when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Just because honestly, if I'm being honest with you, back when I was a kid and going to school and stuff like that, the boys' bathroom was always disgusting. And you know what I mean? And it just traumatized me like crazy to the point where I'm like, every public bathroom is like this, and that's just my like intention going in. Of course, like some public bathrooms I can kind of warm up to and be like, all right, cool. Me and you, we good. We all right. I could take a dump here, and feel a little safe. But I don't know. Even then, because like even at work, I'm like, I'm okay with taking a dump there. But at the same time, it's like, but yeah, I wouldn't hold it. Man. Don't trust these farts out here, and be careful for the silent doo-doo. You know what I mean? Because you never know. You could just be playing football with your friends at the park and then it just falls out your butt. You never know. But let me know what you guys think about this one, this thread in the comments. Let me know what you think about it. And if you have an embarrassing story in public that you want to share, go ahead and get it down in the comments, man. Share with the peoples and share with your boy. I appreciate it. Love reading all you guys' comments. Without further ado, let's get into you guys' worst part of the show, and then we'll get into your favorite part of the show. All right, we got the announcements. Patreon.com/My Podcast. Get an exclusive episode every single Friday, as well as being able to send in your scenarios to be featured on the Tuesday and Sunday shows. All right, if you want to get in there and be a part of that, that's the place to do it. If you're a little iffy and you're like, I don't know about the Patreon, don't worry, I got the playlist for you. There are 2 playlists. There is a YouTube as well as a Spotify playlist down there for you of all the free Patreon Day episodes that we've done. I believe we've done 11 so far. So yeah, go on down there, check them out, see if Patreon is for you. If not, just enjoy the free Patreon episodes that we do at the beginning of every month. Without further ado though, if you're an audio listener, please keep downloading the episodes. I know these episodes are our most downloaded episodes, and I appreciate that, and I thank you so much for that. You guys are the GOATs. All right, appreciate that so much. And so keep downloading the episodes, man, as well as rating us 5 stars if you haven't already. That really helps out. And guess what? It's for free, baby. And if you want to help out even more on the free 99 side of things, go ahead and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, as well as YouTube. That helps out a lot. All right. I haven't really been pushing Kick and Twitch too much because I've been lagging on the streaming side of things. Your boy be getting tired, all right? Your boy is tired as hell. And so, I don't really get to stream that often. But if you ever, catch me live, pop on in there, say what's up, kick it for a little bit, and you can pop on out. But without further ado, let's get into you guys' favorite part of the show. Let's get into A Court of Thorns and Roses, chapter 41 and 42, okay?
Chapter 41. What followed the second trial was a series of days that I don't care to recall. A permanent darkness settled over me, and I began to look forward to the moment when Rhysand gave me that goblet of fairy wine and I could lose myself for a few hours. I stopped contemplating Amarantha's riddle. It was impossible, especially for an illiterate, ignorant human. Thinking of Tamlin made everything worse. I'd beaten 2 of Amarantha's tasks, but I knew it deep in my bones, that the 3rd would be the one to kill me. After what had happened to her sister, what Jurian had done, she would never let me leave here alive. I couldn't entirely blame her. I doubted I would ever forget or forgive something like that being done to Nesta or Elaine, no matter how many centuries had passed. But I still wasn't going to leave here alive. The future I'd dreamed of was just that, a dream. I'd grow old and withered, while he would remain young for centuries, perhaps millennia. At best, I'd have decades with him before I died. Decades. That was what I was fighting for. A flash in time for them. A drop in the pool of their eons. So I greedily drank the wine, and I stopped caring about who I was and what had once mattered to me. I stopped thinking about color, about light, about the green of Tamlin's eyes, about all those things I had still wanted to paint and now would never get to. I wasn't going to leave this mountain alive. I was walking to the dressing chamber with Reason's 2 shadow servants, staring at nothing and thinking of even less, when a hissing noise and the flap of wings sounded from around an upcoming corner. The Atter. The fairies beside me tensed, but their chins rose slightly. I'd never become accustomed to the Atter, but I had come to accept its malignant presence. Seeing my escort stiffen awakened a dormant dread, and my mouth turned dry as we neared the bend. Even though we were veiled and hidden by shadow, each step brought me closer to that winged demon. My feet turned leaden. Then a lower, guttural voice grunted in response to the hissing of the Atter. Nails clicked on stone, and my escorts swapped glances before they swung me into an alcove, a tapestry that hadn't been there a moment before, falling over us, the shadows deepening, solidifying. I had a feeling that if someone pulled back that tapestry, they would see only darkness and stone. One of them covered my mouth with a hand, holding me tightly to her, shadows slithering down her arm and onto mine. She smelled of jasmine. I'd never noticed that before. After all these nights, I didn't even know their names. The Atter and its companion rounded the bend, still talking, their voices low. It was only when I could understand their words that I realized we weren't merely hiding.
Yes, the Atter was saying. Good. She'll be most pleased to hear that they're ready at last. But will the High Lords contribute their forces?
The guttural voice replied. I could have sworn it snorted like a pig. It came closer and closer, unaware of us. My escorts pressed in tighter to me, so tense that I realized they were holding their breath. Handmaidens and spies.
The High Lords will do as she tells them,
the Atter gloated, and its tail slithered and slashed across the floor.
I heard talk from soldiers in Highburn that the High King is not pleased regarding this situation with the girl. Amarantha made a fool's bargain. She cost him the war the last time because of her madness with Jurian. If she turns her back on him again, he will not be so willing to forgive her. Stealing his spells and taking a territory for her own is one thing. Failure to aid his cause a second time is another.
There was a loud hiss, and I trembled as the Atter snapped its jaws at its companion.
Milady makes no bargains that are not advantageous to her. She lets them claw at hope, but once it is shattered, they are her beautifully broken minions.
They had to be passing right before the tapestry.
You had better hope so,
the guttural voice replied. What manner of creature was this thing to be so unmoved by the Atter? My escort's shadowy hand clamped tighter around my mouth, and the Atter passed on. Don't trust your senses, Alice's voice echoed through my mind. The Atter had caught me once before when I thought I was safe.
And you had better hold your tongue, the Atter warned, or Milady will do so for you, and her pincers are not kind.
The other creature snorted that pig noise.
I am here on a condition of immunity from the king. If your lady thinks she's above the king because she rules this wretched land, she'll soon remember who can strip her powers away, without spells and potions.
The Atter didn't reply, and a part of me wished for it to retort, to snap back. But it was silenced, and fear hit my stomach like a stone dropped into a pool. Whatever plans the King of Highburn had been working on for these long years, His campaign to take back the mortal world, it seemed he was no longer content to wait. Perhaps Amarantha would soon receive what she wanted, destruction of my entire realm. My blood went cold. Nesta. I trusted Nesta to get my family away, to protect them. Their voices faded, and it wasn't until a good extra minute had passed that the two females relaxed. The tapestry vanished, and we slipped back into the hall. "What was that?" I said, looking from one to the other as the shadows around us lightened, but not by much. "Who was that?" I clarified. "Trouble," they answered in unison. "Does Rhysand know?" "He will soon," one of them said. We resumed our silent walk to the dressing room. There was nothing I could do about the King of Hybern anyway, not while trapped under the mountain, not when I hadn't even been able to free Tamlin, much less myself. And with Nesta prepared to flee with my family, there was no one else to warn. So day after day passed, bringing my third trial ever closer. I suppose I sank so far into myself that it took something extraordinary to pull me out again. I was watching the light dance along the damp stones of the ceiling of my cell, like moonlight on water, when a noise traveled to me, down through the stones, rippling across the floor. I was so used to the strange fiddles and drums of the fairies that when I heard the lilting melody, I thought it was another hallucination. Sometimes, if I stared at the ceiling long enough, it became a vast expanse of the starry night sky, and I became a small, unimportant thing that blew away in the wind. I looked toward the small vent in the corner of the ceiling through which the music entered my cell. The source must have been far away, for it was just a faint stirring of notes. But when I closed my eyes, I could hear it more clearly. I could see it, as if it were a grand painting, a living mural. There was beauty in this music, beauty and goodness. The music folded over itself like batter being poured from a bowl, one note atop another, melting together to form a whole, rising, filling me. It wasn't wild music, but there was a violence of passion in it, a swelling kind of joy and sorrow. I pulled my knees to my chest, needing to feel the sturdiness of my skin, even with the slime of the oily paint upon it. The music built a path, an ascent founded upon archways of color. I followed it, walking out of that cell, through layers of earth, up and up, into fields of cornflowers, past a canopy of trees, and into the open expanse of sky. The pulse of the music was like hands that gently pushed me onward, pulling me higher, guiding me through the clouds. I'd never seen clouds like these. In their puffy sides I could discern faces, fair and sorrowful. They faded before I could view them too clearly, and I looked into the distance to where the music summoned me. It was either a sunset or a sunrise. The sun filled the clouds with magenta and purple, and its orange-gold rays blended with my path to form a band of shimmering metal. I wanted to fade into it, wanted the light of that sun to burn me away, to fill me with such joy that I would become a ray of sunshine myself. This wasn't music to dance to. It was music to worship, music to fill in the gaps of my soul, to bring me to a place where there was no pain. I didn't realize I was weeping until the wet warmth of a tear splashed upon my arm. But even then I clung to the music, gripping it like a ledge that kept me from falling. I hadn't realized how badly I didn't want to tumble into that deep dark, how much I wanted to stay here among the clouds and color and light. I let the sounds ravage me, let them lay me flat and run over my body with their drums, up and up, building to a palace in the sky, a hall of alabaster and moonstone, where all that was lovely and kind and fantastic dwelled in peace. I wept to be so close to that palace, wept from the need to be there. Everything I wanted was there, the one I loved was there. The music was Tamlin's fingers strumming my body. It was the gold in his eyes and the twist of his smile. It was that breathy chuckle and the way he said those 3 words. It was this I was fighting for. This I had sworn to save. The music rose, louder, grander, faster from wherever it was played, a wave that peaked, shattering the gloom of my cell. A shuddering sob broke from me as the sound faded into silence. I sat there, trembling and weeping, too raw and exposed, left naked by the music and the color in my mind. When the tears had stopped, but the music still echoed in my every breath, I lay on my pallet of hay, listening to my breathing. The music flittered through my memories, binding them together, making them into a quilt that wrapped around me, that warmed my bones. I looked at the eye in the center of my palm, but it only stared right back at me, unmoving. 2 more days until my final trial. Just 2 more days, and then I would learn what the eddies of the cauldron had planned for me. Chapter 42. It was a party like any other, even if it would likely be my last. Fairies drank and lounged and danced, laughing and singing bawdy and ethereal songs. No glimmer of anticipation for what might occur tomorrow, what I stood to alter for them, for their world. Perhaps they knew I would die too. I lurked by a wall, forgotten by the crowd, waiting for Rhys to beckon me to drink the wine and dance or do whatever it was he wished of me. I was clothed in my typical attire, tattooed from the neck down with that blue-black paint. Tonight my gossamer gown was a shade of sunset pink, the color too bright and feminine against the whirls of paint on my skin, too cheery for what awaited me tomorrow. Rhys was taking longer than usual to summon me, though it was probably because of the supple-bodied fairy perched in his lap, caressing his hair with her long greenish fingers. He'd tire of her soon. I didn't bother to look at Amarantha. I was better off pretending she wasn't there. Lucian never spoke to me in public, and Tamlin... It had become difficult to look at him in recent days. I just wanted it done. I wanted that wine to carry me through this last night and bring me to my fate. I was so intent on anticipating Rhys's order to serve him that I didn't notice that someone stood beside me until the heat from his body leaked onto mine. I went rigid when I smelled that rain and earthen scent, and didn't dare turn to Tamlin. We stood side by side, staring out at the crowd, as still and unnoticeable as statues. His fingers brushed mine, and a line of fire went through me, burning me so badly that my eyes pricked with tears. I wished he wasn't touching my marred hand, that his fingers didn't have to caress the contours of that wretched tattoo. But I lived in that moment. My life became beautiful again for those few seconds when our hands grazed. I kept my face set in a mask of cold. He dropped his hand, and as quickly as he had come, he sauntered off, weaving through the crowd. It was only when he glanced over his shoulder and inclined his head ever so slightly that I understood. My heart beat faster than it ever had during my trials, and I made myself look as bored as possible before I pushed off the wall and casually strolled after him. I took a different route, but headed toward the small door half hidden by a tapestry near which he lingered. I had only moments before Rhysand would begin looking for me, but a moment alone with Tamlin would be enough. I could scarcely breathe as I moved nearer and nearer to the door, past Amarantha's dais, past a group of giggling fairies. Tamlin disappeared through the door as quick as lightning, and I slowed my steps to a meandering pace. These days, no one really paid attention to me until I became Rhys's drugged plaything. All too quickly, the door was before me, and it swung open noiselessly to let me in. Darkness encompassed me. I saw only a flash of green and gold before the warmth of Tamlin's body slammed into me and our lips met. I couldn't kiss him deeply enough, couldn't hold him tightly enough, couldn't touch enough of him. Words weren't necessary. I tore at his shirt, needing to feel the skin beneath one last time, and I had to stifle a moan that rose up in me as he grasped my breasts. I didn't want him to be gentle, because what I felt for him wasn't at all like that. What I felt was wild and hard and burning, and so he was with me. He tore his lips from mine and bit my neck, bit it as he had on Fire Night. I had to grind my teeth to keep myself from moaning and giving us away. This might be the last time I touched him, the last time we could be together. I wouldn't waste it. My fingers grappled with his belt buckle, and his mouth found mine again. Our tongues danced, not a waltz or a minuet, but a war dance, a death dance of bone drums and screaming fiddles. I wanted him. Here. I hooked a leg around his middle, needing to be closer, and he ground his hips harder against me, crushing me into the icy wall. I pried the belt buckle loose, whipping the leather free, and Tamlin growled his desire in my ear, a low, probing sort of sound that made me see red and white and lightning. We both knew what tomorrow would bring. I tossed away his belt and started fumbling for his pants. Someone coughed. "Shameful," Rhysand purred, and we whirled to find him faintly illuminated by the light that broke in through the doorway. But he stood behind us, farther into the passage rather than toward the door. He hadn't come in through the throne room. With that ability of his, he had probably walked through the walls. Just shameful. He stalked toward us. Tamlin remained holding me. "Look at what you've done to my pet." Panting, neither of us said anything, but the air became a cold kiss upon my skin, upon my exposed breasts. "Amarantha would be greatly aggrieved if she knew her little warrior was dallying with the human help," Rhysand went on, crossing his arms. "I wonder how she'd punish you. Or perhaps she'd stay true to habit and punish Lucian. He still has one eye to lose, after all. Maybe she'll put it in a ring, too." Ever so slowly, Tamlin removed his hands from my body and stepped out of my embrace. "I'm glad to see you're being reasonable," Rhysand said, and Tamlin bristled. "Now, be a clever High Lord and buckle your belt and fix your clothes before you go out there." Tamlin looked at me, and to my horror did as Rhysand instructed. My High Lord never took his eyes off my face as he straightened his tunic and hair, then retrieved and fastened his belt again. The paint on his hands and clothes, paint from me, vanished. "Enjoy the party," Rhysand crooned, pointing to the door. Tamlin's green eyes flickered as they continued to stare into mine. He softly said, "I love you." Without another glance at Rhysand, he left. I was temporarily blinded by the brightness that poured in when he opened the door and slipped out. He did not look back at me before the door snicked shut and darkness returned to the dim hall. Rhysand chuckled. "If you're that desperate for release, you should have asked me." "Pig," I snapped, covering my breasts with the folds of my gown. With a few easy steps, he crossed the distance between us and pinned my arms to the wall. My bones groaned. I could have sworn shadow talons dug into the stones beside my head. "Do you actually intend to put yourself at my mercy, or are you truly that stupid?" His voice was composed of sensuous, bone-breaking ire. "I'm not your slave." "You're a fool, Feyre. Do you have any idea what could have happened had Amarantha found you two in here? Tamlin might refuse to be her lover, but she keeps him at her side out of the hopes that she'll break him, dominate him as she loves to do with our kind." I kept silent. "You're both fools," he murmured, his breathing uneven. "How did you not think that someone would notice you were gone? You should thank the cauldron Lucian's delightful brothers weren't watching you." "What do you care?" I barked, and his grip tightened enough on my wrists that I knew my bones would snap with a little more pressure. "What do I care?" he breathed, wrath twisting his features. Wings, those membranous, glorious wings, flared from his back, crafted from the shadows behind him. "What do I care?" Before he could go on, his head snapped to the door, then back to my face. The wings vanished as quickly as they had appeared, and then his lips were crushing onto mine. His tongue pried my mouth open, forcing himself into me, into the space where I could still taste Tamlin. I pushed and thrashed, but he held firm, his tongue sweeping over the roof of my mouth against my teeth, claiming my mouth, claiming me. The door was flung wide, and Amarantha's curved fingers filled its space. Tamlin was beside her, his eyes slightly wide, shoulders tight as Rhys's lips still crushed mine. Amarantha laughed, and a mask of stone slammed down on Tamlin's face, void of feeling, void of anything vaguely like the Tamlin I'd been tangled up with moments before. Rhys casually released me with the flick of his tongue over my bottom lip as a crowd of high fae appeared behind Amarantha and chimed in with her laughter. Rhysand gave them a lazy, self-indulgent grin and bowed. But something sparked in the Queen's eyes as she looked at Rhysand. Amarantha's whore, they'd called him. "I knew it was a matter of time," she said, putting a hand on Tamlin's arm. The other she lifted so Jurian's eye might see as she said, "You humans are all the same, aren't you?" I kept my mouth shut, even as I could have died for shame, even as I ached to explain. Tamlin had to realize the truth. But I wasn't given the luxury of learning whether Tamlin understood as Amarantha clicked her tongue and turned away, taking her entourage with her. "Typical human trash with their inconstant dull hearts," she said to herself. "Nothing more than a satisfied cat." Following them, Rhys grabbed my arm to drag me back into the throne room. It was only when the light hit me that I saw the smudges and smears on my paint, smudges along my breasts and stomach, and the paint that had mysteriously appeared on Rhysand's hands. "I'm tired of you for tonight," Rhys said, giving me a light shove toward the main exit. "Go back to your cell." Behind him, Amarantha and her court smiled with glee, their grins widening when they beheld the marred paint. I looked for Tamlin, but he was stalking for his usual throne on the dais, keeping his back to me. as if he couldn't stand to look. I don't know what time it was, but hours later, footsteps sounded inside my cell. I jolted into a sitting position, and Reese stepped out of a shadow. I could still feel the heat of his lips against mine, the smooth glide of his tongue inside my mouth, even though I'd washed my mouth out 3 times with the bucket of water in my cell. His tunic was unbuttoned at the top, and he ran a hand through his blue-black hair before he wordlessly slumped against the wall across from me and slid to the floor. "What do you want?" I demanded. "A moment of peace and quiet," he snapped, rubbing his temples. I paused. From what? He massaged his pale skin, making the corner of his eyes go up and down, in and out. He sighed. "From this mess." I sat up farther on my pallet of hay. I'd never seen him so candid. "That damn bitch is running me ragged," he went on, and dropped his hands from his temples to lean his head against the wall. "You hate me. Imagine how you'd feel if I made you serve in my bedroom. I'm High Lord of the Night Court, not her harlot." So the slurs were true. And I could imagine very easily how much I would hate him, what it would do to me to be enslaved to someone like that. "Why are you telling me this?" The swagger and nastiness were gone. "Because I'm tired and lonely, and you're the only person I can talk to without putting myself at risk." He let out a low laugh. "How absurd. A High Lord of Prithian and, you can leave if you're just going to insult me." "But I'm so good at it." He flashed one of his grins. I glared at him, but he sighed. "One wrong move tomorrow, Feyre, and we're all doomed." The thought struck a chord of such horror that I could hardly breathe. "And if you fail," he went on, more to himself than to me, "then Amarantha will rule forever." If she captured Tamlin's power once, who's to say she can't do it again? It was the question I hadn't yet dared voice. "He won't be tricked again so easily," he said, staring up at the ceiling. "Her biggest weapon is that she keeps our powers contained. But she can't access them, not wholly, though she can control us through them. It's why I've never been able to shatter her mind, why she's not dead already. The moment you break Amarantha's curse, Tamlin's wrath will be so great that no force in the world will keep him from splattering her on the walls." A chill went through me. "Why do you think I'm doing this?" He waved a hand to me. "Because you're a monster?" He laughed. "True, but I'm also a pragmatist. Working Tamlin into a senseless fury is the best weapon we have against her. Seeing you enter into a fool's bargain with Amarantha was one thing, but when Tamlin saw my tattoo on your arm, oh, you should have been born with my abilities, if only to have felt the rage that seeped from him." I didn't want to think much about his abilities. Who's to say he won't splatter you as well? Perhaps he'll try, but I have a feeling he'll kill Amarantha first. That's what it all boils down to anyway. Even your servitude to me can be blamed on her. So he'll kill her tomorrow, and I'll be free before he can start a fight with me that will reduce our once sacred mountain to rubble. He picked at his nails. And I have a few other cards to play. I lifted my brows in silent question. "Feyre, for Cauldron's sake, I drug you, but you don't wonder why I never touch you beyond your waist or arms?" Until tonight. Until that damned kiss. I gritted my teeth, but even as my anger rose, a picture cleared. "It's the only claim I have to innocence," he said. "The only thing that will make Tamlin think twice before entering into a battle with me that would cause a catastrophic loss of innocent life. It's the only way I can convince him I was on your side. Believe me, I would have liked nothing more than to enjoy you, but there are bigger things at stake than taking a human woman to my bed." I knew, but I still asked. "Like what?" "Like my territory," he said, and his eyes held a far-off look that I hadn't yet seen. "Like my remaining people, enslaved to a tyrant queen who can end their lives with a single word. Surely Tamlin expressed similar sentiments to you?" He hadn't, not entirely. He hadn't been able to, thanks to the curse. "Why did Amarantha target you?" I dared ask. "Why make you her whore?" "Beyond the obvious?" He gestured to his perfect face. When I didn't smile, he loosed a breath. "My father killed Tamlin's father, and his brothers." I started. Tamlin had never told me the Night Court was responsible for that. "It's a long story, and I don't feel like getting into it, but let's just say that when she stole our lands out from under us, Amarantha decided that she especially wanted to punish the son of her friend's murderer, decided that she hated me enough for my father's deeds that I was to suffer." I might have reached a hand toward him, might have offered my apologies, but every thought had dried up in my head. What Amarantha had done to him. "So," he said wearily, "here we are, with the fate of our immortal world in the hands of an illiterate human." His laugh was unpleasant as he hung his head, cupping his forehead in a hand, and closed his eyes. What a mess. Part of me searched for the words to wound him in his vulnerability, but the other half recalled all that he had said, all that he had done, how his head snapped to the door before he'd kissed me. He'd known Amarantha was coming. Maybe he'd done it to make her jealous, but maybe. If he hadn't been kissing me, if he hadn't shown up and interrupted us, I would have gone out into that throne room covered in smudged paint. And everyone, especially Amarantha, would have known what I'd been up to. It wouldn't have taken much to figure out whom I'd been with, especially not once they saw the paint on Tamlin. I didn't want to consider what the punishment might have been. Regardless of his motives or his methods, Rhysand was keeping me alive, and had done so even before I set foot under the mountain. "I've told you too much," he said as he got to his feet. "Perhaps I should have drugged you first. If you were clever, you'd find a way to use this against me. And if you had any stomach for cruelty, you'd go to Amarantha and tell her the truth about her whore. Perhaps she'd give you Tamlin for it." He slid his hands into the pockets of his black pants, but even as he faded into shadow, there was something in the curve of his shoulders that made me speak. "When you healed my arm, you didn't need to bargain with me. You could have demanded every single week of the year." My brows knit together as he turned, already half consumed by the dark. Every single week, and I would have said yes. It wasn't entirely a question, but I needed the answer. A half smile appeared on his sensuous lips. "I know," he said, and vanished.
All right. And that is going to conclude today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Hope you've enjoyed A Court of Thorns and Roses, chapters 41 and 42. Next week we'll get into 43 and 44. And actually, we don't have too much left. We have actually 2 weeks left of this book. And that's it. I was thinking it was about 4 weeks, but I was wrong. No, we have about 2 weeks left of this book. So next week will be 43 and 44. And then the following week will be 45 and 46. And that'll be it. Then we'll be on to Haunting Adeline Book 2. And, we might revisit this series and do, the later books and stuff like that. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you guys on Friday if you're on Patreon. And I'll see you on Tuesday if you're not. So, peace.